In the last issue, the Dark Knight was humbled by the super mercenary known as Bane. Now he's trapped with no hope of escape. Will our hero ever see the light again? Well, let's hop into the pages of Absolute Batman issue number 10 and find out together, shall we? Well, now this is interesting. As this brand new issue begins, we check on in not with Bruce, but actually with his mother, Martha. She's the first one to realize that he's gone missing. And she begins to raise holy hell all over the city to anyone who will listen in hopes of trying to get him back, starting with the former Mayor Gordon, before eventually moving on to all of his friends in the Crime Alley crew. Now, where exactly is Bruce right now? Well, he's being kept in a cold, sterile medical facility where some unseen, mysterious doctor woman is conducting a series of tests. I actually really love these panels for several reasons. One, the doctor is talking into the microphone in a way that totally reminds me of the Warriors, and also she refers to Bruce as Patient 27. You see, that's clever because Batman actually debuted in the pages of Detective Comics number 27. And that's a bit I'm very happy to report actually recurs throughout the rest of this story. We also discover via this lady's findings some very interesting stuff about Bruce in the Absolute Universe. For starters, he's 6'9" feet tall, over 400 pounds. And even after they managed to get past all the booby traps on his suit and take it off, they had to do minor surgery on him to get rid of all the tools that he had hidden on himself subdermally. Wow, who needs a utility belt when you can just use your own body orifices as a bag of holding, am I right? Though of course the bad guys ended up missing one, as Bruce is able to procure a lockpick from in his mouth. You know, Harry Houdini, the famous escape artist and magician, people believe he actually had a bridge in his teeth, where he hid lockpicks during his amazing escapes, and I get the distinct feeling that that's a reference that they're doing here. Bruce manages to slip his cell and tries to make a run for it. It seems that he is actually somewhere deep within the bowels of Ark M, where we can see several other horrifying and twisted experiments, all with very familiar sounding names if you're a long-time comic book reader, like the Hellfern experiment, obviously a reference to Dr. Death, one of Batman's first villains, the Langstrom experiment, and even something called Project Clay. That's Clay with a K, in case you're wondering. Yes, it would seem the deeper that Bruce tries to go into the heart of Ark M, the more he begins to realize that this place is some sort of monster factory. He ends up stepping on Clayface, which in doing so ends up alerting Bane, who is still stalking him through the halls of the facility, or as the Lady Doctor refers to Bane in this, Prime. The strong implication here being that Bane is himself an experiment of Ark M, maybe their finest experiment, and now they're putting Batman through more or less what is the absolute version of a stint in Santa Prisca. The goal being to, you guessed it, break him down and build him back up again. A process that we soon discover by cutting back to Martha has actually taken them months to accomplish. At first, Bruce fought tooth and nail, but as time dragged on, he slowly but surely grew catatonic. He also grew a beard, which also lets us know how much time passed. He even stopped eating, which required the lady running this experiment to hook him up to a series of feeding tubes. In reality, though, Bruce was only playing possum, waiting for the chance to lash out at the guards when they came to replace his feeding bags. And what did he do to get the upper hand on them? Oh, he just took out several of his teeth and fashioned them into goddamn gauntlets. But that's not even the craziest thing he did. You see, Batman used some of that surgical tubing to hook it up to his stomach so that he could blind the guards with his own freaking stomach acid. Wow, you know, when this series began, I know Scott Snyder really ran with the idea that this absolute Batman is a walking weapon who never needed money or gadgets or big caves to get the job done, but holy crap, does this singular issue here end up turning that idea up to 11, and we're not even done yet. How did Bruce escape this time? Well, he blew up the wall by turning his own urine and feces into what was essentially gunpowder. Now that might sound incredibly stupid to you the first time you hear it, but I actually cracked open a science book and realized this process actually does have a basis in real-world history. You see, back in the 1860s during the Civil War, a Confederate chemist named Jonathan Harlanson figured out how to extract potassium nitrate from soldiers' urine and use it to create explosives. So yeah, this is only like half made up. Now about that, everyone, don't say you never learned anything by watching my videos. Now this time, Bruce's escape ends up getting thwarted when he takes a wrong turn through the Isley Woods, where in a bunch of trees with faces scream out in horrible anguish about how the Green is being trapped here. Oh, why do I think trees with faces is Snyder making a little self-reference to witches? Now, it's after that we get treated to a little flashback to the early days of Bruce and Selina's relationship. Apparently, she actually wanted him to join her on a series of high-profile Robin Hood heists, but he had to turn her down as he was busy still trying to train his friend Waylon for his big upcoming MMA bout against Bibbo Babowski. The would-be Catwoman feared that the would-be Killer Croc would only get himself decimated if he stepped in the ring with that guy, but Bruce surprisingly supported his friend implicitly. Geez, why, it's almost as if he knows something about fighting against impossible odds, and never backing down despite how big and terrifying your enemy might be. Now, it's after that we end up jumping ahead another month as the mysterious Lady Doctor thinks they are finally reaching the end of their experiments with Patient 27. Not only has he survived everything they've thrown at him, but he's also survived a series of cruel and brutal surgeries. No doubt very similar to the ones that made Bane the way he was. In fact, these Ark M guys are so confident they even return Batman's suit to him, which for a minute there actually causes him a little bit of a psychological break as he ends up talking to the suit like it was another person before eventually donning it and trying to escape one last time. This time, Batman ends up coming face to face with the whole horrible menagerie of nightmarish experiments who make up the bulk of his rogues gallery in this universe. See who you can spot in this bigger picture. They all beg for Batman to save them, and if he can't do it, then at the very least they ask for him to end their suffering. Jeez, this got really dark really quick, didn't it? Of course, if Batman even wants to save himself, he still has to overcome the unstoppable force that is Bane. This guy's been beating him down for months though, and now he decides to take the opportunity to get a little philosophical, saying that the true warrior, the one who always wins, isn't the person who's the strongest or the smartest, but the person who is most adaptable, the person who is the quickest and most willing to change, you know, adapt or die and all that. Though in his warrior poet musings, I don't think Bane ever stopped for a second to think that Batman might actually have a friend waiting in the wings, as at that very moment the glass ends up shattering as a massive scaly crocodile creature ends up entering frame. Yep, that's right everybody, this is the absolute Killer Croc, only surprise, surprise. Even in this twisted new monster form, Waylon Jones still very much remembers his good friend Bruce, the person who stood by him through his toughest times in the ring, and as such he decides to get in the ring with Bruce one more time. Yeah, that's right, it's a team up, Batman and Killer Croc versus the world, everybody. Our Dark Knight mounts his green steed, and together they end up escaping through the sewer system. Not that Bane and his benefactor seem to be all that worried. In fact, Bane takes this as the ultimate opportunity to break the bat once and for all, and this time make it stick, damn it. It's also right here too, as the comic comes to a close, we actually learn this mysterious Lady Doctor's name. Turns out she's Dr. Arkham, yes, as in that Arkham. In this world, the Arkham family might not own an asylum, but they still ended up housing all of Batman's villains anyway. How about that? And so that was Absolute Batman issue number 10, everybody, and oh man, what a powerhouse issue here from Scott Snyder. I had said before I loved how this writer was drawing upon his own influences in history writing horror comics and using it to inform his own take on Batman. Again, a series that has always had a lot of gothic edge to it, but a series that over time has kind of moved away from the pulpier horror kind of stuff. Here Scott Snyder basically says, what if it was all horror all the time now? What if all of Batman's villains were walking nightmares? But then also turn that whole idea of fear of the unknown on its head and also say, yeah, some of his villains are paralysis demons, but some of them are actually his childhood friends. Again, it's such a fascinating twist on I am vengeance, I am the night, I use fear to fight my own fears. Honestly, I could just keep gushing about this issue. I really did love it that much. It looks awesome, the action is great and inventive. There's a boatload of awesome Easter eggs and references and deep cuts. I'm positively in love, I'm positively enamored, another 9 out of 10. Hey there everyone, it's your old pal Cape Joel again, thanking you so much for watching to the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, why not check out my Amazon link down in the description. Yes, that's right, the Cape Joel channel officially has its own Amazon storefront now. You can pick up a comic or anything else for that matter, and if you did, you'd really be helping me in the channel. So with that out of the way everyone, I will see you again next time. Bye-bye.